Welcome back to Big Riff Energy. We are in December, which means 2024, for all intents and purposes, is over. This will be the last episode of the year, probably the last episode for a while, and I'll explain why later on. But first, I'm going to talk about the Devastation on the Nation tour, get to some emails. People are asking about Sick New World a while ago, which apparently is not so sick as it's been canceled. So I'll talk about that, talk about what's on the horizon music wise for me. But first and foremost, Devastation on the Nation, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the very, very ugly. Surprise highlight of the night, opening band, Null, Knoll. If you're going to go see this tour, show up early. Doors here were at like 5 o'clock or something. But I strongly urge you to show up to see Null. I've seen them around on social media. I think their tag is Null Grind, which is a little bit misleading because the first thing that came to mind for me was Portal from Australia. The words that come to mind are chaotic, disturbing, unnerving, suffocating atmosphere. I had not yet checked this band out, so it was a total went in blind, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised. They've got a very cohesive sound with a matching, I would call it like visual storytelling on stage. I don't want to spoil too much, but somewhere between Haunted Victorian Mansion and the mortuary from Phantasm, and there's spirits moving through the room, and something's very wrong. So yeah, check them out. If you like Portal, or maybe even the more chaotic or death metal-y aspects of Full of Hell, or even something like just unnerving and overwhelming like The Body, you'll like this band. The singer in particular was making noises that I couldn't quite figure out how the human voice would be able to do some of this stuff. I don't know if he was using effects on certain spots, maybe not. But he was making some of the most disturbing and like confusingly hostile sounds that I've ever heard somebody make. Great, visual element to the performance as well. Not just the stage setup, but his vibe in general. It just seems kind of like he's being possessed by demons or something. But in a really artistic, cool, compelling way. So please show up early for Null. Obviously, Fulci was super rad, sort of the other end of the spectrum, a lot more colorful and fun. And yeah, just old school death metal. It really reminded me of being 13, 14 years old and getting obsessed with going deeper and deeper into extreme music, going from bands like Death to bands like Malevolent Creation and Cannibal Corpse and stuff like that. Also, simultaneously trying to go deeper and deeper into discovering the most extreme and violent movies I could find. Cannibal Holocaust, hunting down stuff on eBay, The Burning, the Fulci movies, of course, City of the Living Dead. Really, at the time, sort of obscure stuff that was like still banned in a lot of places and sort of hard to find. Fulci's whole delivery just evoked that like teenage yearning for more and more extreme stuff. It was just a lot of fun. I got to interview them, super nice guys. Glad that happened. Check that interview out. It's the last episode I released. Mortiferum, I still don't know how to say their name, Mortiferum, even though I've been seeing them for years and years. I only got to catch a little bit, but great band. Saw them earlier this year at Austin Death Fest, and they've been touring a lot. So super tight, real heavy, crushing. I'm sure most of you are familiar with them or have seen them because they've been touring a lot. Uada, I missed most of Mortiferum and some of Uada because I was interviewing Fulci. Uada's been working, man. They're really, really tight. It's not my style of music. I'm not that interested in it. I do like the guitar work. I think it's cool. They got a cool vibe on stage for sure. Definitely like the Pacific Northwest mystical, spooky stuff. But I've seen Uada probably 3 times in the last year, just because they've been on so many tours that have been coming through. They're just working their asses off. And the highlight of Uada for me has become their sound guy, actually. I remember seeing him way earlier this year, or maybe even possibly last year. I can't remember if they were with Morbid Angel on the Devastation tour last year, but I think they were. But this kid, you can tell Uada is his favorite band in the entire world. So many sound guys and people behind the scenes in the touring industry. It just sort of becomes a job. You get a little bit, maybe not even burn out, but you just sort of go on autopilot. It's just kind of a job. This kid, he knows every word, he knows every riff, he knows every break, which is great to have in a sound guy, because he's turning up delay at the exact right timing at the end of vocal lines, and really like hands-on, actively involved in their set, and they always sound great. But I love watching somebody work that really still has that passion and love for what they're doing. So shout out to Uada's sound guy. I don't know his name, but he deserves a lot of credit and a lot of respect for how much he loves what he's doing. I would say the MVPs of the night were Suffocation. And I don't know why I don't talk more about Suffocation, and particularly Terrence Hobbs. The guy is one of the best extreme metal guitar players, songwriters, rhythm guitar, lead guitar, his vibe, his attitude. And he's kind of the last man standing in Suffocation. I saw them probably 10 or more years ago in Tempe when they still had Frank on vocals. It was the Pinnacle of Bedlam tour, and I love that album. I think that's one of their better albums. They had, what's his name, Dave Colross on drums, who played on one of my favorite records ever, Malevolent Creation, Envenomed. Guy was a machine. But I sort of, it's my fault. I sort of stopped paying attention to him around that time. I think I saw them once more when the lineup had completely shifted and they were on that record, something Dark Light or something. And I saw them at the Marquee in Phoenix, which is kind of hit or miss experience-wise, sound-wise. And I just wasn't really feeling it. So I sort of just stopped paying attention to them. I know they put a record out last year that a lot of people loved. But I get to the point when bands are just changing lineups so much and there's only one guy left, or maybe 0 people left original, like Napalm Death. I kind of like struggle to keep up. Same deal with Cryptopsy. I think they put a record out last year, but I'm like, None So Vile exists. Why am I going to listen to a new Cryptopsy record with a bunch of dudes that I don't even know who they are? I think Flo Monnier is the only guy left, maybe. But that's a mistake with Suffocation, because they still got it. And I want to revisit that record that came out last year, because they played some songs from it. And some of their stuff is so absurdly heavy with the 808 drops and shit that it's bordering on like parody, but not. And you can't, like, me and Mikey were looking at each other at certain parts and just laughing, like belly laughing, because of how heavy and absurd and crushing and pummeling it was, And we weren't laughing at them. We were laughing with them. You can almost tell they get a kick out of those parts. But obviously the technicality and musicianship off the charts. The riffs are just insane. Lead guitar is insane. The new vocalist is great. No bullshit, no frills, no wasting time, no corny shit in between songs. Which brings me to a sensitive subject. I do not want this to turn into a David Vincent hater session or bash session, but it's probably going to enter into that territory. I'm a fan of David Vincent, and I'm an admirer of his work musically and just what he did with Morbid Angel to put a spotlight on extreme metal. And take metal to the mainstream, basically, but without sacrificing one iota of artistic integrity or weirdness or truly extreme creativity. Morbid Angel has always been kind of one of the weirder, more avant-garde death metal bands, and I think it's so cool that at one time Covenant was the highest selling death metal record ever. And I think the thing that dethroned it was the first Death Clock album, which goes to show you how powerful it is if you can capture the fandom of like Adult Swim cartoon video game demographic, because a fake cartoon band outsold the highest selling death metal record ever. But we have two Morbid Angels, obviously. I saw the other one last year, and neither one of them is perfect. Trey's version, there's a spectrum. No offense or no pun intended. And it feels like Trey's always been pulling it to the psycho realm, the acid casualty, avant-garde, way, way out there, not just musically with the dissonance, but just kind of the whole vibe of it. You just kind of have to be like half schizo to even vibe with what he's doing. And I feel like David Vincent's pulling it almost in a more like Elvis direction or something. Just like okay, let's break this down. Got to see Pete Sandoval, Commando, on drums, which I've never seen him. I've seen a version of Morbid Angel that was David Vincent and Trey. I've seen the Steve Tucker Trey version of Morbid Angel most recently last year, and I actually didn't even make it through the whole set. Trey was having some difficulties. The vibe was just wrong, and not in like a cool way like Null or Portal. It was just a struggle fest, and it was just too weird and hard to follow, and yeah, I just wasn't feeling it. So I will say, this might be heresy, but I think musically, live, I Am Morbid, I actually think was maybe better than Morbid Angel. However, neither version is what anybody really wants. Let's be real here. It was cool to see Pete Sandoval. The guy's 61 years old, playing some of the most physically demanding drum parts that have ever been laid down. And he was getting through it. I mean, he was doing as good a job as any 61-year-old on the planet could do, I think. The guitar players are great, hired guns, really good at what they do. David was playing great. This sucks, man. Okay. I am not a David Vincent hater at all. I had one encounter with a guy who was super cool. So I'm coming at this from a position of a fan, an admirer, and somebody who's invested in this guy's success and invested in this guy not blowing it. And the stage banter, man. Okay, first of all, the attire. It took me a couple of days to figure out what this shit reminded me of. And I'm all for looking cool on stage. Like, I feel like everybody else in the band looked cool. The guitar players were wearing like all black, and leather's cool if you want to do that, and whatever, like vests with no shirt and black and get covered in tattoos. That looks cool. And David Vincent has rocked some cool shit in the past. He had like all black, sort of like looked like some shit out of the Matrix at one point, and that was actually pretty cool. In the past, he did the sort of like orgy type shit, the wannabe industrial thing. I think he was doing it with his wife or somebody at the time. I don't know much about that because I'm just not into that. And it's, dude, you're playing Morbid Angel songs. The set list was killer, and they covered a Terrorizer song, which was kind of a surprise. You're playing Morbid Angel songs. You're wearing a getup that looks like Moulin Rouge. It took me a day or two to figure that out. I only know about that because that shit was inescapable when the early 2000s version, I think like Christina Aguilera was in it. We don't want to see Moulin Rouge. It's like half Stage attire is half Moulin Rouge, half Branson, Missouri. Has anybody been to Silver Dollar City? Kind of had that vibe. The stage Banter was somewhere between, yeah, Branson, Missouri, family friendly, sort of like late stage of his career stand up comic at Branson, Missouri. You guys seen The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke? It kind of had a little bit of that vibe, that late career. Please, God, pay attention to me thing. It had a little bit of like TV evangelist. So Uncle Baby Billy, if you've seen The Righteous Gemstones, you know, it was just confusing, man. It was confusing, and I was getting secondhand embarrassment. I think the guys on stage were too, and God knows they can't say anything about this. You know, the vibe with those guys some of the time looks sort of like, oh my God, I wish I could fucking disappear right now, but this is pretty okay check, and I respect this guy and what he's done. That's kind of the vibe I had, man. Those first 4 Morbid Angel records, first 3 for me in particular, are incredible. Nothing can ever sully that legacy. And in fact, I went back and I was watching videos from like the Blessed Are the Sick era and Covenant era, and I did kind of realize there's always been a little bit of like a fruitcake element to Morbid Angel. There, you can call it like artistic or whatever, but if we're being realistic, it's a little bit of a fruitcake thing. But this is kind of the wrong, I don't know, this aw shucks shit. Like you're playing Morbid Angel songs. The shit is evil. It's mean. It's scary. It's like introspective and psychedelic in a weird way. And you're up here. I don't know if it was maybe because it was Austin and he talked about how it was like closest thing to a hometown show and he's lived in Austin for 10 years. But it was this, oh shucks, we sure are glad for you to join us tonight. And going on and on. They played Eyes to See, Ears to Hear, and he went on this thing about everybody lies to you in this world. I mean, it sounded like Uncle Baby Billy, TV evangelist, like, yeah, corny, fucking phony, corny shit. And he was talking and talking. That's why you got to use your own eyes to see and your own ears to hear. And Pete starts the song and they start playing the song and this motherfucker's still talking. And your own, he's like trying to spit it out quick because the song's already started and you got to use your own brain to figure it out. But the song's already going. Dude, all due respect, shut the fuck up. If you, and again, this is coming from a fan and an admirer. I don't know this guy. I'm fucking nobody to be telling a dude what to do who's had a career like this and the success like this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know nobody else can. His bandmates aren't going to do it. Trey probably told him at one point, shut the fuck up with all that corny shit, and that's why there's 2 versions of Morbid Angel. And David probably told him, hey, get your fucking head out of your ass and figure out what the hell you're doing. People paid money to come see you play evil ass, scary death metal songs, Morbid Angel songs. The set list was sick. It was just greatest hits of the first 4 albums, all the shit you would want to hear. But figure out the vibe, man. Like, figure out the vibe. If you want to, your job is to play these songs as good as you can, crush the audience, make them feel something, make them remember what they felt the first time they heard it. If they're young kids and they're new fans, like, show them what death metal is all about. Show them what Morbid Angel is all about. It ain't about you, man. At the end of the day, we have to all understand this. And I'm talking to myself here too. You're a dancing fucking monkey who's trying to play songs as good as you can, make people feel something, and make a motherfucker want to buy a t-shirt. It's not about you. It's not about getting approval that you're an aging dude in an extreme metal band, which is a hard thing to do. Extreme metal is a hard thing to get old doing. It just reminds me of The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. It's a very fine line at having extended, successful career that you've earned with fucking hard work and blood and sweat and tears. It's a fine line between that and fucking embarrassing yourself and becoming like a mockery of what made you so successful. The people that made you successful don't want to hear a your mom joke on stage at a Morbid Angel show. It's not offensive. You can't offend me. The only way you can offend me is with fucking doing a bad job, being lazy, being a fucking insecure old man, victimhood, like feeling sorry. That's the only way you can offend me. This dude told a your mom joke on stage in the middle of a Morbid Angel set. It's not offensive. It's just, and it's not edgy and it's not entertaining. It's embarrassing. Your fucking bandmates were embarrassed. Crowd was embarrassed. If you want to tell a little story about this song's called Immortal Rights, and I remember working on this with Trey in the swamp or whatever the fuck you did. If you want to tell a 30-second little thing that's applicable to what's happening, go for it. But it ain't about you, man. It's not about fucking serving your own insecurities or your own ego or whatever the fuck you're trying to do. I doubt this dude will ever even hear this. Maybe his bandmates will hear it. I doubt it. But, this is all coming from a place of love and respect. And we are in a world, and particularly the entertainment industry. I'll get to this later with an email. Somebody's asking me about this. People all bullshit each other. I think I've met 6 guys playing music that I could be sure that they're not going to bullshit me. Jeff Henson's one of them. Shout out to Jeff. So I'm sure everybody around David Vincent's bullshitting him. But sometimes you need somebody to be like, hey, cut that shit out, man. Cut that shit out. Put on fucking all black. Quit saying one-liners in this weird hokey like cowboy fucking Baby Billy accent, and then playing a little bass line to like accentuate this like fucking room is totally silent failed punchline shit, and play the fucking songs. Turning Morbid Angel into a fucking casino act, bro. So we have Trey's version, which is way off the rails into fucking lava land, acid casualty, fucking dude thinking that he's opening portals in his own mind and he's some kind of, unparalleled genius of the fucking interdimensional riff or whatever. And then you got this guy who thinks he's, well, hell, thanks for coming out and supporting, and Austin does love its metal. Shut the fuck up, dude. Play the song. Okay, so musically, 8 out of 10. Set list choice, 10 out of 10. Stage attire, 0 out of 10. Stage banter, 0 out of 10. But overall, a great experience. I'm glad to finally have seen Pete Sandoval in particular. And I was really pleasantly surprised when they played the Terrorizer song. Dave did say, when me and Pete finished making Altars of Madness in Florida, 1988, I guess they worked on it, 89, then they went to California and played on Terrorizer World Downfall. Amazing. Do more of that, man. Don't do this hokey one-liner, weird televangelist shit. And then when they played the Terrorizer song, the room blew up because everybody in there should have already known the backstory there. But if you didn't, now you got some context. It's amazing that those two guys, helped perfect death metal when it was first forming. And then a matter of months later are on the other side of the country helping perfect grindcore, making possibly the best death metal record ever made and possibly the best grindcore album ever made. Focus on that, dude. If you want to stroke your own ego, that's shit you need to focus on. Tell a story about the Where the Slime Lives music video being on MTV and that being a big deal, or the Blessed or the Sick music video being on MTV and that being a big deal. But cut the Branson, Missouri shit out and put on some fucking black clothes, brother. Okay. Should I go to emails? Yes, I will. if you're going to Devastation on the Nation, show up early for Null. That's my number one piece of advice. Also, drop my boy Jason off at the airport. He's meeting up with Fulci to fill in for their vocalist on the second half of the tour. So make sure you check them out. Say what's up to Jason and those guys. Super good guys. Nice guys. Great band. Scott, in the emails. Big fan of the podcast and Spirit Adrift. Thanks, man. Love how you talk about how you always keep it real. I do my best to do that shit every day, too. My question is, have you ever seen the Dave Chappelle skit from Chappelle's show, When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong? Yeah, there's an episode of this podcast called When Keeping It Real Goes Right, which is obviously a play on that. Do you have a story of when keeping it real may have backfired on you? Yeah, this podcast, dude. Also, I know it's late and I am a terrible artist, but I attached pics of my pumpkin I made with my kids for Halloween this year. I'll put up the pumpkin picture. Pretty morbid, bro. I am morbid. Keep on keeping on, brother. I'm hoping to start my own podcast and YouTube channel soon. Maybe we can chat sometime. Either way, keep up the good work and keep slaying riffs. Scott, Burlington, Canada. Yeah, I will mention now I'm going to be retreating into a riff dungeon. I have a literal underground lair that I have created. I'm taking all of this equipment, putting it in there for the month of December and possibly all of January. So I'm going to be MIA from this podcast and hopefully from the world until about February, just so everybody knows. When keeping it real went wrong. You know, I mentioned it. I operate in a world where, you know, I think any professional world functions because people lie to each other. And whether that's not to rock the boat or upset the apple cart or to not jeopardize a promotion or not jeopardize your standing with your coworkers or your boss. But I think anything having to do with entertainment, so actors, directors, musicians being possibly the worst. Maybe I think they're the worst because that's the world I'm most involved in. These are people who more often than not do not want to be told the truth. There are, I would say the vast majority of people involved have extremely fragile egos. I think what gets a lot of people into this in the first place, and maybe myself included, is deep-seated insecurity and a desperate need for approval that never comes because you're looking for it externally. So what happens is a business like that rewards people that are full of shit. It rewards people that say whatever they think is going to reward them rather than what they think is true or correct or accurate. The I Am Morbid situation is probably a perfect example. And maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe his bandmates love when he says, I keep telling these Florida boys, when you get sick of hurricanes, come on here to Austin and they'll welcome you just like they welcomed me. But judging by the look on the Florida boys' faces, I think that they wish that they could tell David Vincent to shut the fuck up and just play the fucking songs. This is corny. We're not a Branson, Missouri fucking cover band. We're not, you know, TV evangelists. I think they probably wish they could tell him anything. But the name David Vincent is worth something, and I guess the name I Am Morbid is worth something. And that's just one anecdotal example of how that all works, man. So I think, depending on what you mean by, you know, keeping it real going wrong or backfiring, and depending on what your goals in life are, I think it's actually a detriment to keep it real in this world that I operate in. But, you know, you mentioned Chappelle's show. That shit came out when I was probably a freshman in high school, I want to say. And I got spoiled real early because the dudes that I ran around with, like my 4 or 5 best buds in high school, still probably the 4 or 5 best people I've met. We kept it real to a fault. There was never one iota of effort of bullshitting each other to spare our feelings or to spare our ego. And in fact, more often than not, we would go out of our way to be as mean to each other as possible if one of us was fucking up, you know? And that spoiled me, man. And those guys are still, my best friends that I've ever had and the most admirable people I've ever met. And it was all from love. You know, you get a little bit older and you realize there's a way to be honest and truthful with people and keep it real with people and not, just completely trample their feelings. But most of the people in my world, touring bands and stuff like that, need to be hit in the head with a fucking shovel. Most of them. And myself included for a very, very long time. And we all have to realize that none of this shit matters. We're all going to die. Everybody's going to forget every single thing that we did. In 100 years, nobody's going to remember who David Vincent is. Nobody's going to remember the first 4 Morbid Angel albums. And that's liberating. That's liberating. Like once you start drinking your own Kool-Aid and once you're surrounded by people who are drinking your own Kool-Aid and their Kool-Aid and they're feeding you your own Kool-Aid, that's not good, man. And you end up getting older and realizing that you are surrounded by people and surrounded by quote unquote admirers, and you are completely alone and you don't have a single person that'll check you. So I guess that's kind of a boring philosophical answer to that. But I think long term, it's best just to, I don't mean this in some corny, like morally upright way, but it's not worth it just to bullshit people and bullshit yourself. So, I debated critiquing the stage banter and the stage attire of the I Am Morbid thing, but why? Who cares? Who knows? Maybe it'll get to him and he'll appreciate it and be like, you know what? He's right. You are enough. David Vincent, you are enough. We're all enough. We don't need to fucking protect our own egos and be yes men and all that sort of thing. I'm trying to think of anecdotal instances where keeping it real went wrong for me. If you could see in my nostrils, the right one's almost completely closed. The left one is probably like 70% closed from getting broken noses a lot. Usually guys that were bigger than me who really deserved to get hit. And I don't know, you could say that's keeping it real gone wrong, but only one dude ever really got the best of me. The last guy that full on legitimately got the best of me is what really did this sort of damage. So, I deserved it that day though. Most of the time the other guys were asking for it. I think that day I was probably asking for it. And I got it. And that was a good lesson. And now I have to think about that every time I breathe through my nose. So yeah, I don't know. Keeping it real is the right way to go. Even if you get your face broken or David Vincent is offended or whatever. Chris. Oh boy. Posers are on the loose in Chicago, according to Chris. This is a little bit of an old email. I've been backed up. Exodus and Havoc is buy one, get one free on tickets. Sad. Yeah. People need to support the scene they want to exist. 2 ways to make yourself heard: how you vote, and more importantly, how you spend your dollar. That first one's debatable, but the second one for sure. Exodus and Havoc shouldn't be reduced to buy one, get one on tickets to get people there. Sad. That is sad, man. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I think Dead Heat is on that tour too, or was on that tour. That's a great band. I don't give a shit about Havoc. Don't like them, never did. You know what? If we're keeping it real, that main dude is a fucking douchebag. He's the exact kind of person I'm talking about drinking their own Kool-Aid. Forced himself into a into a sacred end of tour photo with 4 bands that were on tour together, none of which were his band. Kind of weird. What a douchebag. Okay. But Exodus, yeah, that's sad. That is buy one, get one. Fucking shame. Wayne, it took a while to get here to Australia, but I finally got my vinyl copy of Faded Dream. It's the cyan, black, white with orange splatter. It's beautiful and it sounds really fucking good. You should be proud. Thank you, man. Might have to get the CD too. CD has a bonus track, but it sounds like we're gonna release that as a single digitally at some point. Out of interest, as you were writing some of these songs, did you think maybe I should keep this one for Spirit Adrift? No, I didn't actually. I'm always kind of working on Spirit Adrift stuff. So even before the last album came out, Ghost of the Gallows came out, August of last year? I think I already had new Spirit Adrift material just kind of percolating. So I've been working on new Spirit Adrift stuff for over a year. And I got various stuff in various forms of completion, and I have riffs laying around and full demoed songs laying around. And I'm kind of getting back into that mode. But at the end of last year, when I started doing the Neon Nightmare stuff, it was like a Busta Rhymes flip mode. Like I knew exactly what I was going for. So there wasn't ever really any kind of confusion of like, oh, maybe that's a Spirit Adrift riff. It's, you know, I studied the first couple Danzig records, which are about to come up in another email. And I studied the typo negative stuff so intensely that I kind of figured out some of the formulas, especially some of Peter Steele's formulas that he used, not just for writing riffs and chord progressions, but for entire songs and, you know, the production approach and stuff like that. So when I realized that that's what I was doing, I'm working on this new thing. It wasn't called Neon Nightmare yet. It took me forever to come up with a name that I didn't totally hate. But every time I sat down, it was very obvious what I was working on. And most of those songs, Promethean Gift was the first one that I wrote. And that one took the most work. That one had like a couple of rewrites. The first version didn't have a chorus, and it was just like a really long, sort of schizophrenic arrangement that was all curveballs and left turns and stuff. And it still kind of has that, but I rewrote it a couple of times, added the chorus and that sort of thing. The rest of the songs just literally happened. She's Drowning came out of a vocal melody, which I think is the first time that's ever happened. I had the chorus vocal melody first and then wrote the song around it. Song just fell out. Obviously very bass driven, so not Spirit Adrift really. This will be Greek to any non-guitar players or musicians or whatever, but so many of the Neon Nightmare riffs that are like doomier, there's chromatic movements. So if you think about the theme from Phantom of the Opera, which is stolen from Pink Floyd Echoes, dun, da, 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 dun, da, 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 da. That's called a chromatic whatever movement. That's the chromatic scale, which means you're moving a half step at a time. On the guitar, that's 1 fret at a time. I don't do that in Spirit Adrift hardly at all. But that's a very Peter Steele thing. Also, yeah, the way that they wrote songs, it was just, it wasn't so much like guitar riff based. It was sort of a big picture thing. So you're intentionally writing guitar parts that are not super busy or involved so that you can have more space for the keyboards and production, Technicolor, you know, full, you know, 360 degree production going on. And Spirit Adrift is really guitar oriented, you know. And I do a little bit of the same thing. I'll add like little sonic treats and guitar overdubs and keyboards and stuff like that. But it was a totally different mindset. I'm trying to think of, They Look Like Shadows. Literally, I sat down with a guitar and played the whole song I had in my head, like, I want to write something kind of Danzig-y. And I grabbed the guitar and played literally the whole song. Never once thought like, oh, that should be a Spirit Adrift song. Yeah, I don't think any of them. And it's weird because I've flipped modes again. And originally I think I was gonna write and work on the second Neon Nightmare album next. I also have another project I want to do, but something happened within the last couple weeks where there was like a spark lit in my head that really gave me a vision of the next Spirit Adrift album, and I've completely flipped modes again. I have some Neon Nightmare riffs laying around, but as soon as I started writing riffs that sort of resonated with me as like, that's definitely what the next Spirit Adrift album is going to be. It's like I'm like a dog chasing a ball or something. Like I just got completely honed in on that. I don't know if I'm probably just compartmentalizing stuff. But I doubt that during the writing process of the Spirit Adrift stuff that I'm going to think, oh, that's a Neon Nightmare riff. I should keep that. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if that answers your question. But yeah, it's very much like compartmentalized and divided. Brendan, no question, but I want to thank you for the kind words about Neon Nightmare. And thank you to everybody. There's been a lot of you writing in, and I read all of it. A lot of you are telling me not to read it, or not to answer it, or not to read it on here, so I don't. But I am reading it. Thank you. Chris from Pennsylvania, thank you to, I think that's cool. You discovered Typo Negative on the Bride of Chucky soundtrack. Is that right? Because I discovered them on the Freddy vs. Jason soundtrack. So thank you to JR from Chicago. JR was talking about how on this podcast we like to appreciate people while they're still around instead of waiting for them to die, watching their Spotify numbers increase by 10,000%, and all of a sudden the whole world loves and appreciates them when everybody forgot about them while they're still alive. I think I got that from Fenriz from Darkthrone. He would just post on social media like, I love Dan Lilker, and just like name people that are still around. Gary Holt, like dudes that he loves and appreciates. And I thought that was really cool. But JR wants to talk about John Christ from Danzig. And he's talking about that first lineup. John Christ, along with Eerie Von and Chuck Biscuits, elevated Danzig's first 4 records and brought the songs to life in a way that Glenn has never been able to replicate since. John played perfectly on those records. He had the right dynamics, enough technique to show he had chops without being flashy, and the ability to nail the mood. He was a huge influence on my own playing. He wasn't afraid to keep shit simple, and when he did solos, it always fit the songs just right. Yeah, I agree. The first 3 Danzig records in particular to me are perfect. 4 I've never really got into. I've tried, but and talking about his solos, one of my old bands covered Tired of Being Alive, which is probably my favorite Danzig song. And John Christ is the kind of guy whose solos you want to learn note for note, or I did. So I learned that solo note for note, and it was one of these situations. The same thing happened to me in another band when we learned a whole ZZ Top set, and I was trying to really get it down exactly how Billy Gibbons plays everything, and it was a huge leap in my guitar playing. It like unlocked a whole new world for me to study a true master like that. And when I learned John Christ's solo from Tired of Being Alive, it was the same thing. Again, like everything you said about his playing is spot on. And this is going to be Greek again to non-guitar players, but I love that this dude leans primarily on pentatonic scale. So does Billy Gibbons. So does Tony Iommi. It's the blues scale. Every good blues-based guitar player leans on that scale or uses it exclusively. Leonard Skinner to all pentatonic stuff. But what gets really exciting is when dudes with a full, comprehensive, natural understanding of that blues scale start branching out of it just a little bit to make it a little mystical sounding or exotic sounding or surprising. or enticing. So like Tony Iommi around the time of Heaven and Hell, he starts kind of venturing out of those pentatonic boxes. He always did incorporate a little bit of jazz too, some of the more colorful notes. John Christ does that. His solos are super catchy, super soulful, bluesy, but then he'll throw in a run that has a note that's real mystical sounding. And when I learned that Tired of Being Alive solo, man, fucking amazing. One of my favorite guitar solos for sure. And it's just so expressive. It becomes as memorable and moving and impactful as like the vocal melodies. It's a real expressive performance. Okay, JR goes on. Christ's riffs are one of the main reasons 3 is my favorite Danzig record. I was lucky enough to see them on the 3 tour, and John was a fucking rock god during that show with the best guitar tone I've ever heard and a menacing stage presence that commanded your attention. Yeah, I think he's a pretty big guy. They all were. I'm pretty sure you had to be a power lifter to be in that first lineup of Danzig. Like, not kidding. I think that was a requirement, is you had to be like ripped. When Chuck Biscuits showed up skinny as a rail, I'm sure, and they made the dude work out and potentially take some Mexican supplements. I've never seen anyone else harness feedback like how he does on Godless. He made the song sound better than on the records. His parts were also pretty accessible to a kid guitar player who was just starting to learn songs by ear. He talks about learning John Christ songs, riffs. Don't know what the ins and outs were of what went down. Again, I think Danzig is probably a guy you can't say shit to. The guy's first job was the Misfits, and he's only been Danzig since then. You know, you probably can't say shit to that dude. I later learned that John almost died in 2004 in a car accident, broke his back, and his fretting hand was crushed. Jesus. So he had to relearn how to live, let alone play guitar. I did not know that. That's gnarly. It's clear that it's been a difficult journey back, and the fact that he's playing again should be an inspiration to all of us. That's what overcoming adversity looks like. Hell yeah. Yeah. At any rate, if you feel the same about these folks, it'd be cool to give them a shout out. Either way, appreciate the work and time you put in your platform. Okay, you mentioned LG from Entombed as well. I'm not a huge Entombed guy like the first record, so I won't get into that. But yeah, you said it, man. You covered it all there. John Christ rules. He's playing Hell's Heroes next year, and I'm sure he'll be playing Danzig songs, so that's cool. Everybody go see John Christ if you haven't seen him perform, because it sounds like he had to overcome a lot. I wasn't even aware of all that. Okay, Steel City Chris asked me about Sick New World. This was before it was canceled. I saw that Decibel sort of did like a funny hit piece on Sick New World, and whoever wrote it, it kind of sounded like some shit you would hear on here, talking about people picking at the rotting corpse of a dead industry. I mean, that sounds... A lot of people act like they don't listen to this shit, but I know they do. I know they do. I know you do. A lot of people also have been having some cute shit to say about me in this podcast to people who are better friends with me than they are with you. So looking forward to seeing some of you soon. Sick New World, there was something wrong with the vibe of that thing to me. Something way wrong. Obviously the most notable band performing would be Acid Bath, and it makes me wonder what the figure was that they were offered in order to get Dax to agree to that, because I think that Dax is the one that has been hard to convince. So hopefully that doesn't run him off from that fest in Ohio that they're booked at too. But it's just the way that shit works. I don't know. Maybe Acid Bath is going to play more shows than these, super expensive, super Live Nationed out. I think the one in Ohio is actually Danny Wimmer, which is cool. Danny Wimmer is kind of the only other game in town. But I just think it's a shame that there's, your average Acid Bath fan probably doesn't want to pay that kind of money and also doesn't want to go to something where Acid Bath is playing with like insane clown posse and like nothing against them personally, but it'd be a lot cooler if they played a show in Louisiana with Soylent Green and I Hate God or something like that. And maybe they're going to, I don't know. But money talks, and no hate. I love Acid Bath. I got nothing but love and respect for all those dudes involved. I saw Zach from Goat Whore is going to be playing drums. Great guy. But money talks, man. I don't know. I was not surprised it got canceled, and it's probably for the best. And you're going to be seeing a lot more of that. We already have been seeing a lot more of that. Every day a tour gets canceled, a band breaks up. Money talks, man. Look at the As I Lay Dying situation. Had to bring it up. These are the kind of people I'm talking about, man. The industry runs on delusion, bullshit, insecurity. There's people that would play in a band with a guy who tried to murder his wife up until the point that they think that they're going to get in trouble for it. They're going to get in the kind of trouble that their career won't be able to recover from. It's I don't know, all this stuff is just gross, man. So I don't want to celebrate somebody's venture falling apart, but I think it's probably for the best that Sick New World was actually not that sick and it's gone. Actually, it was terminal New World. Now it's gone. Eric from By Way of Fire. I've been meaning to tell you, I got your CD, I got your note. The thing you sent me is a vast improvement on what you sent me before. Parts of it remind me a little bit of Eternal Champion, actually. I think it might actually be your vocals. But I would say keep doing what you're doing because it's a huge improvement. And you still got a lot more improvement you can do. Spend more time on the vocals, figure out what your vocal melody is, play it on a keyboard, sing along to it. Demo yourself as many times as possible singing. Double your vocals until you're perfectly in pitch. Do a keyboard guide track, like whatever it takes. Keep putting in the work and put in more work. Because I'm impressed at how much you guys have improved since that original thing you sent me. I did just want to acknowledge that I got your CD. Thanks, man. Eric recommended a band called Faust, Faust. Album is Death Galore. It came out this year. It's a lot of fun. If you like death metal, you'll like it. Last but not least, we got Shane from Alberta, Canada. Shane plays in a band called Culled, Culled. He describes it as politically charged, sludge-encrusted grind band from Alberta. What isn't politically charged these days, bro? I like it. I'm like I said, I'm not a huge grind guy. I like Napalm Death. I even like later Napalm Death. Time Waits for No Slave, Utilitarian. I love that stuff. I love the old stuff too, obviously. I love the semi-death metal period. I love Terrorizer World Downfall. I love Nasum, Old Pig Destroyer, Rotten Sound. Triage, Champ. There you go. There's your fucking shout out, dude. Champ, Kill the Client, and Triage has made some good grindcore. Yeah, politically charged, sludge encrusted grind. It gave me some His Hero Is Gone vibes too, or Tragedy. His Hero Is Gone sort of morphed into Tragedy. They went from being super crusty, southerny kind of D-beat, sludgy thing into a more kind of emotionally charged, real D-beat shit. Yeah, Cold from Alberta will appeal to fans of all that stuff I just mentioned. What else? Yeah. Kenny Powers is a free agent, baby. Spirit Adrift are officially free agents. However, we're pretty much spoken for. So unless you want to offer me I'm not fucking around, $1 million, 1,000,000,000, I'm pretty sure I know who we're doing our next album with. But if there's someone out there who wants to offer us $1 million to make a record, hit me up, bigriffenergy@gmail.com. So this podcast will be on hiatus, probably until February or maybe even later, because I really want to dig in. I've been riffing, I've been demoing, I always am, but when I'm going for something, I really want to go for it. So I'm taking all this shit, like I said, going into an underground bunker that my friend and I designed and ran power to. You will not hear from me until February, but you can write me at bigriffenergy@gmail.com. Just know that it will not be answered or addressed until February. I'm very excited about the direction of these Spirit Adrift riffs, and I am in absolutely no rush to finish this thing or put it out. The game plan is tours are being booked and announced like a year in advance at this point, literally a year. So I'm going to be smart for the first time ever with this stuff. And instead of just cranking out songs and albums, because that's what I like to do, we're going to make an album. We're going to sit on it. We're going to get our business dealings behind the scenes squared away. Probably book, hopefully, headlining tours, I would imagine, or whatever makes sense. Nothing has been appealing for an entire year. Nothing. So what else can I do? Make another album. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be in the underground bunker writing riffs, and fans of Spirit Adrift will be very excited at where this stuff is going. It's channeling the genesis of the band a lot, but taking it into some territory that's like heavier and scarier than anything that Spirit Adrift has done before. So it's fun. It's a good time. What else? We talked about the best albums of the year. I kind of want to do like a 2024 little short recap here. And I want everybody to, I don't have an album of discussion for this episode, so I'll let you guys determine the albums of discussion. Drop in the comments what you're listening to, whether it's new, whether it came out this year, or whether it came out 50 years ago. You guys determine the albums of discussion and talk amongst yourself in the comments. But I'm going to ask you all to do a little exercise for me here, because I feel like my year-end list was 10, 11 albums and like 8 runner-ups or 10 runners. So like 20 total. I see these year-end lists that have 40, 50, 100. I see people posting every week like 12 to 30 albums that they love. No, you don't. Bullshit. And here, we're going to prove it. Let's all do a little exercise. If you guys can conjure up your year-end list from 2023, maybe you have it written down, maybe you tweeted it, maybe you write for a publication or something, and so you can actually look at it. If not, try to just think of your year-end list from last year. How many of those albums did you listen to this year? Because for me, it's Majesties, Vast Reaches Unclaimed, Church of Misery, Born Under a Mad Sign, Cruciamentum, I think it's called Obsidian Refractions or something, Reflections, and that Witch Hazel album. That's it. I think I heard the Outer Heaven album a couple times in preparation. Preparing to see them live at Austin Death Fest. But that's it, man. And I didn't have that many records on my list last year. So if you have 40 or 50 or more albums on your list of best albums of the year at the end of every year, how many of those did you listen to this year? And I can go back to 2022, which I said on here before, I think might be the worst year for music in the history of music. There was a year in the 90s when it was like nu metal had really taken over. That was pathetic. I forget what year, maybe 95 or something. That was just like you would have to really lie to yourself to convince yourself that there were 10 good albums that year. 2022 is the same. That was a fucking pathetic year for music. Hiatus was called Isle of Wisdom. That's the only record that came out in 2022 that off the top of my head, I could even remember that it came out. And I looked and like Crowbar put a record out that year. I'm pretty sure that record's fucking awesome. Somebody else too. But the point is, off the top of my head, all I could think of was Hiatus. That's it. That's the only record that's still like any sort of meaningful part of my life. And last year, it's the 4 that I just mentioned. So think about the records that you were ranting and raving about being the best records of the year last year. If you didn't listen to them this year, they're not that good. If you forgot they existed, they're not that good. But drop a comment. What are you guys listening to? Today I was listening to the St. Vitus live record, the one with Wino from the 80s, one of my favorite records. And I've been listening to that since I was 16 because I remember getting my driver's license and actually probably before I even had my driver's license, driving around, listening to that, listening to Wino begging the sound guy to turn the monitors down and stuff. What a great record. So that one has held up. But a lot of these records coming out today, I'm not so sure that they do. I think that's it, man. I'm going to retreat into my underground lair in order to avoid the fallout from I Am Morbid starring David Vincent, and in order to try to make a record that you guys are going to be listening to in 2034. Okay. Peace out. See you in a few months.